Good evening, I'm David Rose. Consider for a moment the enormous maze that is our traffic system. Seattle's arterials, the main streets of the city, stretch more than 1,500 miles. In Tacoma, those major paved routes measure close to 900 lane miles. And if you laid out all the roads in Snohomish County end to end, they'd reach from Everett to Green Bay, Wisconsin. But tonight, we're putting the spotlight on just a handful of streets: South Hosmer, Aurora Avenue, 3rd and Pike, the U District, and Everett's Airport Road. Put together, the parts of these routes we're focusing on run less than a half dozen miles, but they are a map to what's driving crime in our region. These are the mean streets, and we begin tonight with the worst of them, South Hosmer in Tacoma, where along 1/2 mile stretch, a staggering amount of crime has been committed. Tacoma Police Chief Avery Moore put it this way: 100% of the crime is happening in 10% of the places. And on South Hosmer, the crime is happening most often between 84th and 90th, centered around a string of cheap extended stay motels. Over the last few months, it's gotten worse after criminals bunkered down in a motel that had been closed down, essentially turning it into a fortress to commit illegal activities. Think drug dealing, gun selling, and homicides, all made harder to stop, officials say, by anti-eviction rules. The Spotlight's AJ Janavel drove out to this derelict property to find out how this happened.
South Hosmer Street, a hot spot for crime. And one of the worst parts of this street is right here, the 8800 block.
A family is mourning the loss of a 29-year-old man.
It is the city's priority to focus on South Hosmer Street.
And many of others have lost their lives or have been injured on this particular street.
We grow numb to this type of behavior.
I looked through Tacoma Police data just this year. Department tweets showed the 8800 block of Hosmer is the site of 3 shooting homicides. The question is, why is this spot so bad? This building may be part of the reason.
There was definitely drugs, there was definitely arms trafficking, and my understanding is there was also either human trafficking or prostitution going on.
8820 South Hosmer Street, the site of the former Econolodge, now an empty shell of what it once was. In the spring, the owners sold the property to Sage Investments, a Kirkland-based company who planned to flip the property into affordable housing options. Unfortunately, the owner tells me they had no idea what they were getting into.
We've dealt with everything from our crews being shot at by tenants, and unfortunately we experienced that there was a homicide on site.
Emily Hubbard is the co-owner and investor relations for Sage Investments. She tells me this is not what her company had in mind.
I don't know, it breaks my heart. So no, it doesn't feel good. It's not our intention to own something in that condition.
According to numbers Fox 13 News obtained, more than 350 crimes were committed near this property in the last 8 years. But the change in ownership did not help the already bad situation. Hubbard tells me the building is derelict, with water issues, electrical issues, plumbing issues, something she says they knew. But what she says they did not know was how many active leases were still associated with the dilapidated hotel.
We've had a really hard time evicting those remaining leases, and as long as we have people that have legal leases, they need to have access to the property. So we have to leave the access open, so then we also run into the issues of squatters and gang violence.
So this is what you're left with. I shot this video on my phone in May, instead of using a news camera, because people told me it was not safe to be on site.
It definitely made us all feel sick to our stomachs knowing what was going on a property that we owned.
I asked Hubbard, as the new owners, why not take care of the problem?
It seems like it's such a simple thing, right? You call the cops, they'll come take care of it. You know, you evict them, they're doing drugs, they're doing illegal activities. Shouldn't that automatically mean that they have to leave? No, it doesn't.
But that's not where the story ends. Working with law enforcement, providing footage of the open-air crimes happening, change eventually came in force. One instance is back in September. The ATF, working with Tacoma Police, arrested 23-year-old Peter Darnell King. According to federal documents I got my hands on, King is a reported gang member, a drug dealer selling oxy and fentanyl who freely carried unregistered guns. He called this hotel home.
Some of these criminals and drug dealers felt that they ran the roost and that we were their guests. So it was just such a crazy, warped situation.
King now faces charges connected to selling drugs, that could land him in prison for at least 10 years. These changes are part of what's making this place now feel and look very different.
It's getting better.
This video from late September is far different than my footage back in May. Instead of the criminal activity plaguing this space, crews work diligently to quickly turn the property into what hopefully will be a safe place for families.
The understanding is that this is no longer going to be something that's allowed to happen at this facility.
So AJ, what originally got you interested in focusing on the safety in this area?
Well, David, in the story you hear me talking about how much crime there is along Hosmer Street. I was actually in that area for a separate story. A hotel employee shot a man that came into the hotel threatening her coworkers with a knife. So as I was speaking to this victim, I was hearing about all the issues that were coming from this property that we just focused on. And I took some time myself just to watch it. As you see in the story, I'm sitting there in the car with the cell phone video rolling, and you can just see how intense that area is. Nobody was there. Those people were able to operate in that empty space without really any control. So after seeing that, we started working for months to get more information on exactly what was going on there.
The other big concern is this is right off a main thoroughfare, I-5. You've got people coming through the area that have no idea how dangerous it is there. Are you hearing any solutions that are in the works for trying to clean this place up?
In the time that I was there, you talk to some people who are pulling up. They have no idea they're in town for a work trip, and that's where they end up. So one thing that is an issue, as I was speaking with Emily Hubbard of Sage Investments, is she says as they work to get that criminal activity out of their hotel, the problem that they've heard about is that it will just move down the street to the next hotel. So addressing that bigger issue is something that the city is going to have to get a hold on. I have reached out to Tacoma Police to try and see if I can sit down with their chief and hear what their total plan is on addressing the issues that are in Hosmer. As soon as we hear back from him, we'll work to get a follow-up to the story.
No, that would be great. All right, AJ, thank you.